make sure that it's picking up right. You can adjust the camera as needed.
Camera as yeeted. Wait. Use stream key. Wait. Are we on? Are we live? I think we're live. Ryan, are we live?
Yes.
Awesome sauceum. Hi, everybody. You can see my awesome hands.
A little choppy, but
It's a little choppy.
yeah.
We'll deal with it. We're here to paint some models today at Dombrowski's Games and Comics, your one-stop shop for comics and other stuff like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon and all that good stuff. Fun fact about me, I bought way too many Pokemon cards today. Probably shouldn't have done that. I can hear myself across the room. So yeah, we're going to be painting this awesome zombie ogre. Ogre zombie from the Nolzur's Miniatures for a happy Halloween paint night. Is it Halloween or is tomorrow Halloween? One of those. I've lost my Halloween spirit. I don't even know when Halloween is. Look at me. Okay, so I'm gonna have trouble opening this, so you guys get to see me fumble with this for a little bit. There's nobody in the stream right now, I don't think so. Whatever. If you're watching this after the fact, you get exclusive footage of me fumbling to open up a model. How are frames looking?
Frames are dropping, but it's like being super slow.
It's being super slow.
You see in the lower left, you have like a preview.
Yeah.
It's real choppy.
Oh yeah, it is being
Yeah,
really choppy.
the,
Is it here?
Open the task manager and see if we can shut some things off because the computer's like really slow.
Task manager. We're doing some R&D here, guys. Task.
Let's see what's using up all the resources.
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can
piece of crap computer
figure this out, guys. Hi, Rodney. Welcome to the stream. We're figuring out how to make the stream a little better here. So system interrupts me using 99% of the CPU. I don't know what. Nope. It's okay. Google Chrome. We need that. Windows modules installer.
I don't know what that's doing.
I don't know what that's. Let's see if we get in that task.
Here goes the computer. Full screen.
Yeah, well, it'll tell you if it'll like crash it. Let's see. Task manager using some stuff. Mobile plans.
Using much memory. That's Chrome system.
Chrome and OBS are using. What the H?
Take the OBS window and just like scrunch it way down. Like grab the top of it.
This.
And pull it down.
Let's see. Oh God, that's a small picture.
Does that change anything? No.
No, not really. What if we minimize it? Can we minimize it?
Yeah, see what that does.
Let's see.
Nothing.
There's so many. Oh, gosh, the system itself is using a lot. Let's see, manager. It's just these two that are using up like 60%.
Open OBS. I'm gonna change some settings.
Okay, awesome. We're gonna do some tech stuff here, guys.
Reach.
Yeah, you get to see Ryan's arm for a second.
Try this. See if this makes any difference.
I'm gonna keep fumbling with this while you do that.
Delete. So I changed that earlier. FPS. So like 15 is your only option here.
Okay.
Any color space, buffering, auto detect, capture audio. No, we don't want that.
Well, no, we don't want to capture only audio. That'd be really bad.
And it's crazy because it's like real smooth on the.
Yeah, on the OBS it's super smooth, but then on Facebook it's
super dookie.
Not. Yeah, it's a little dookie.
It's all that CPU. And it sucks because I just updated this today.
Let's see. Hi, Donald.
Reset this.
Hi, buddy.
Welcome back. We're working on troubleshooting this really quick.
I did this because it blasted out all the whites and looked like crap, but we'll see if that makes any difference.
No, we're still at 97%. Oh, we're going down. We're going down in CPU. 97
we got
again.
Plenty of headroom now.
Yeah, we got 3% headroom on our CPU. It looks like it's running a little bit smoother over there.
It really does, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess. Oh, let's quit Malwarebytes. Get that out of here.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want it. Whoa. Uh-oh.
Don't worry, we should be fine.
Okay. Whoa. I was worried for a second. Maybe it's because we're not using Malwarebytes and there's tons of malware on this computer. You ever think of that, Ryan? Huh?
That's probably the problem.
Probably so much
Look over here,
malware.
see if-
Okay, so I'm gonna adjust myself. I hope you guys really enjoy my Pit Boy shirt. I like those. So let's start unpacking all this stuff. Looks like I got a little spill out of there somewhere. Let's hope that doesn't affect it. Make sure we shake up our paint pots before we do this, because these paints separate. I wonder. It looks like my tan was like running or something. One of these. Yeah, it's that blasted out color finally just blasted all the way out. But it should be fine. We'll fine. Yeah, so I'm just taking these paint pots and just slapping them against my hand just to mix them up a little bit. Oh, that dead flesh is really green. So yeah, in our little pack. Oh, hi Brett. Hi. I know you can't see my face. I know you want to, but yeah, we're not. The more important part is this guy, this little ogre boy. We're gonna paint him, and I'm making sure that he's gonna be in frame and not my face, because we're not painting my face. Not today. Maybe next time we'll paint my face. Whoa! I dropped something. Whatever. Doesn't matter. So yeah, in our little kit, we should have water pot. That is to put your water in that you use to clean your brushes off and whatnot. Of course, our zombie ogre. If you don't have this in your kit, there's a big problem. You should probably contact Wizards about that. We get 2 brushes, 1 fine detail, 1 all-purpose. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the fine detail one for these because they're not as fine as they should be. And then we should have 12 different paints. So if we list through them, we got Violent Ink, Leather Brown, Sepia Wash, Heavy Sienna, Gunmetal, Black Wash, Heavy Skin Tone, Flesh Wash, Dead Flesh, Bone White, Off-White, and Tan, which is a little handful of paints. And these paints are by Vallejo. They're super good quality paints. If you guys are interested in like what kind of paints you should buy, I definitely recommend Vallejo. A little bit of a cheaper option than GW.
Of course you are.
But I mean, I use GW because I've been collecting them my entire life. So yeah, we're gonna pretty much use this as our palette today. Our little plastic thing that everything came in. Ideally, we want to use like a wet palette. And if you guys don't know what a wet palette is, you can make it with like some Tupperware, parchment paper, paper towels, and water. And you basically it makes like a semi-permeable surface. And it's going to keep your paints wet and stop them from drying out and stuff like that. You can leave them overnight, and they'll be fine. But we're not doing this in this case. We're just going to be painting 1 miniature. We're going to hopefully get this done fairly quickly. So first off, we're going to fill our water pot. So I'm going to fill this water pot, and I'm actually going to fill the spot where the water pot was in as well. We're going to use that to kind of thin our paints and our washes down in case they need it. Sometimes these little pre-packaged bits, they come out a little thick, and we don't want to cover our model's detail. Especially with these little Nolzur's miniatures, they come pre-primed, and so they already cover up a little bit once they prime them. This one seems to be pretty well done, though. I'm actually pretty impressed by this one. Sometimes you lose a little bit of detail in the pre-prime. And of course, priming is you lay down that little extra coat of paint, and it's going to help all your other paint stick. So I'm going to go fill these wash pots up. There's my face, if you want to see it. That's the only one you're going to get. And I'll be right back. And I wish there was like some cool little like screen that I could put you to, but I'll be right back. You could have gotten me water, Donald, and I appreciate you for that.
My stick of meat. What? Stick of meat. Oh, okay.
All right, I'm going to be very careful not to spill all this water.
Yeah, they're leaving. If they were going together, that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we have our water. we have our brushes, we have our miniature, and I believe we have everything we need to start painting. So I'm just going to kind of go down the row as we use these, and I'm just going to put them in that little the little plastic spot where the paint originally came in. I had a little bit of a spill with one of the paints, but it doesn't. It looks like it's all dried up, so it'll be fine. So getting right into it. Before we start painting, we want to make sure that we're not loading our brush up with paint that's going to get paint in the ferrule and it's going to ruin your brush. We don't want to do that, so try not to put paint on more than, I would say, about halfway up that brush. I'm going to probably stick to this all-purpose one for most of it. I might use the detail one, depending on how it feels about acting with me here. But we are going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing we want to start with, we're going to be doing the skin of our ogre zombie, and that's going to be, of course, heavy skin tone. I mean, pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to find our heavy skin tone. I like to kind of pop these apart as I'm painting them. Give it an extra little shake, and we're going to load it up into one of our little thingy-mabobbers. So let's see if we can't just pour some in there. Yeah, that's coming out nice and thick, so we probably want to thin that down just a little bit. Be careful closing the pot again, because it's probably going to splat a little bit out. Don't look at it. I've gotten paint in my eye before. It hurts. Unless you have an eye wash station nearby, I guess. And if you do have an eye wash station nearby, why are you painting at work? You should be working. So yeah, we're going to take some of this heavy skin tone, and we're going to lay it down on our boy, and we're just going to cover all of the parts that are his open skin. So we're going to do his front, his back, his chest, his hair, or not his hair, his head. We're going to do his legs, his feet, and his hands. So this is going to take a little bit of time. Don't be super worried about getting paint other places, because this is just a base coat. This isn't our detail. So we're just going to go nice and slow with that. I don't quite like how thick this paint is still, so I might thin it down just a little bit more. So, alright. I did pour quite a bit into here, so I need to get a bunch of water in there. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so half the video, 3 hours, is just going to be an hour and a half of me just thinning paint down here, because I put way too much paint in here. Alright, maybe wash this off just a little bit. But yeah, any of you who have who've bought your kits and you're watching, feel free to paint along. And let's see if we can't get this done fairly quickly. So make sure when you're painting, brace your hands, get yourself a good base there to paint on. We don't want to be all wobbly when we paint, okay? Bam. And yeah, Ryan is a pretty great IT tech. My name is not Justin, it's Thomas. Thomas, yeah, name's Thomas. I'm doing a stream right now, so just make sure we keep it just a little bit down. I'm not saying don't have fun, but we're live to the good people of Facebook. We don't want to hurt their feelings. Donald loves Facebook. Everybody heard it. Why don't you just marry it then, Donald? Huh?
Because I proposed to you like 3 times and you said no.
Yeah, Donald really is. He's just gonna keep asking me, but I told him that until he's financially stable, I will not accept that proposal. But yeah, this is probably going to be our longest step of the process, because we're just laying down our base coats, getting everything covered, and this model, as opposed to the last model we did on stream, we did that Manticore maybe a month or 2 ago. That one had a lot more surface area to cover, so I'm pretty confident this one's going to go by a little quicker. Yeah, I think, gosh, I lost my train of thought. Sometimes I get lost in what other people are saying in the background. By the way, let's try and keep the language a little under control there. We are live. There might be kids watching. I know that Brett has his own child. I don't know if Brett's still watching. But we want to keep that language just a little bit down. Oh, you want to see my yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like getting off camera here.
There we go.
Wherever you're comfortable, my eyes look so good. Oh wow, this is a good camera. It makes my eyes look nice. Yeah. But yeah, that Manticore was pretty significantly bigger than this, I believe, and that took up about all of our time. But this one, I feel good. I think we're gonna get it done in I'm gonna say like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. We just want to get the. Oh, yeah, this is the Manticore we did last time. This is the exact Manticore that I painted. Look at him. Yeah, so the Manticore's got a little harder spots to hit and stuff like that. This guy's gonna be a lot easier to paint. There's not a lot of really hard spots to reach here. I bet you're all happy. You can see my face now. One thing you might notice about these Nolzur's miniatures, they do tend to have like a lot of mold lines on them. So if you want, you can scrape those off. You're probably going to scrape some of the primer off too, though, when you do that. So you might want to lay down like just a little, like little brushes of primer if you want. You could just not deal with the mold lines. It's really up to you. With these ones, I'm not worried too much about it, honestly. And it might look like this skin tone's a little it's a little tan for what that end product looks like, but trust me, it's gonna blend in pretty well once we get the washes and our highlights and stuff like that. So just takes patience. Sitting, blah 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 blah. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Feel free to ask. If I'm leaving anything out, let me know on chat. I'll do my darndest to look over to chat every now and again. Right now we're sitting on just people upset that they can't see my beautiful face, but you can see my face now, so it's great. So see, I feel like I'm about halfway done with this skin already. It's really not taking that long. And like I said, make sure you brace your hands. We don't want wobbly models, and you get paint where you don't want to. Although this step of the process, it doesn't really matter that much if you paint on a part you're not meant to. We're not coloring in the lines just yet. When we do like our fine detail, it's not going to be that fine, but it's that's when we want to be a little more careful with our brush strokes. Maybe use that fine detail brush that I'm not a huge fan of, but yeah, it's coming along pretty well. Right now, this zombie ogre looks like he just got back from vacation. He's pretty tan looking. Yeah. Base coating, don't you love it? It's the longest part of the process, but I mean, good thing is depending on how involved you are with your painting, you can actually stop at the base coat point if you want. It's all about what you're comfortable with, what you're willing to do. I'm a pretty big stickler for details when I do models, and I want them to look like friggin' fantastic whenever I do them. So I'm like very, very, very nitpicky and take hours and hours and hours to do my models. But this one, I'm going to try my best to get it done fairly quickly. Kind of show you guys how it's really not that hard to make a very good quality model, honestly. And we just want to make sure if our paint is going on a little thick there, by the way, just make sure we dilute it down a little bit. Go back over those areas to make sure you don't lose out on that detail, because there is pretty nice detail on this model here. I'm going to clean off my brush for a second. Just periodically clean that off, and I'm gonna be gross, and I'm gonna get my tip back on there by licking it. You don't have to lick it. You can actually do that with your fingers. I do it by licking it because it's quick, and I don't mind the taste of paint. So yeah, it's up to you. A lot of people think that's gross. I couldn't care less. I just the more time I can save painting models, the better. So I'm just gonna. And like I said, don't be like really crazy about being accurate here. I know there's some good amounts of detail on like the face and stuff like that. You just want to make sure not to overload your brush when you're going over those in particular, because the more paint you use, the more you're gonna cover up your detail, and you don't want to do that. So another thing I like to do is kind of get some extra paint off by just painting on my thumbnail for a second. Not like my computer thumbnail, but my actual person thumbnail.
You done with it?
It's like a pretty deep
You're not floating. You're just
mold line on his head there, but we don't mind. We just want to make sure we cover all the spots we need to. I'm probably going to say that like 100 more times while we're doing this. Bear with me. This is a pretty arduous process, or an arduous part of the process, that is, just because we're covering so much area, and we're not really changing paints or anything, and that can be boring. But trust me, it's going to be super, super worth it when we get done towards the end here. I'm trying to pick up some of this excess paint that came off my brush there. And just make sure to pay a little bit of attention around the neck there. There's some little crevices that might be a little hard to get into, kind of around his sideburn area. I like that this zombie ogre took the time to shave his sideburns. Really nice. Be sure to get the back of the ears and everything nice and clean.
No, I did mine.
There we go. Looks like we're done with the torso there. Don't worry about that that kind of like little woundy part. We're gonna go over that with a different color. So we're moving on to the legs, and those should go rather quick. Get his knees knocking. I don't know what that means. I don't know. You'll notice there's also like a little wound on the knee. If you get paint in there, don't worry about it. Again, we're just doing this base coat to cover all of our area, get a good idea of where all the colors are going to, and lay down some colors that are gonna just be kind of peeking through the final coat. But this is just gonna make sure, you know, it doesn't look like a statue. It's going to look realistic, and we go one layer at a time here. It might be a little hard to hit there. There's like a little area like right behind his leg that's a little hard to get into. I'm going to try to get there. If you don't, I mean, people aren't really going to see it. Whatever. And make sure you do his feet too. His feet are bare. He does not care about the cold. Doesn't care about frostbite. It's been actually pretty temperate out, so he's rocking sandals right now. He's got like really well manicured toenails. For a zombie ogre, this guy has really nice toenails. I think we're gonna have to make him look a little gross whenever we get to painting the rest of him. So it looks like the back of his legs are all wrapped up, so I'm not even going to worry about like his ankles or anything like that. We're just going to go over that other foot really quick, and then we'll move on to his other leg, and then we'll get his hands, and then we'll be done with this part of the base coat, which is the longest part. I don't know why I'm looking at the camera when I'm like, I'm making a point. Alright. Got his nice little toesy woesies covered in brown stuff. Bam, bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. Awesome. Now moving on to his other leg. Again, make sure you're not loading that brush up with too much paint. We do not want to. We don't want to get it twisted, yo. We don't want to get that paint in the ferrule. Alright. hoping we're getting close to being done with this leg, which there's also another little
Yeah, that makes target player jaw coverage.
really getting in his sensitive areas. That's those are kind of the harder angles to hit. But again, like, who's looking down there, right? Does he have a zombie ogre wife? Who knows? I feel confident that zombie ogres would find love. You know, why not? Let's see if I'm missing anything on chat here. Let's see if. Oh man, so many people have been commenting, and I didn't even realize it because I wasn't scrolled all the way down. So hi Steve, what's going on? I didn't know you were here yet, because I was stuck on one part of the chat, and I was like, nobody likes me. But no. Yeah, Zombie Boy has a Beachbody tan. That's what Ryan's saying. He is going to lighten up. He's going to lighten up quite a bit by the time we're done. And he's going to lighten up in both ways, and like physically and mentally, he's going to lighten up. He's going to be a really laid back guy by the time we're done with this. So yeah. And Ryan, don't hesitate to yell at me if I'm not holding this in the frame. I know I kind of move my hands about different ways sometimes. So we're painting his hands, his zombie palms, his palmbies, and just trying to get all that good coverage. And we are just rocking through this. We're going at a racer's pace. We're Usain Bolting ourselves through this model right now, because this is, again, the longest part is laying down a base coat. I know it takes forever, but it is what we need to do. We can't just go straight into detail, because actually, I've never seen a model like that. If anybody wants to paint a model that's just fine detail and no base coat, I'm sure it would look crazy weird. And I would love to see it, actually. Yeah. $75 card, huh? Oh, Vampiric Tutor. Yeah, they're reprinting that right now. They're reprinting it in Commander Legends. Any Magic nerds out there, we're getting a Vampiric Tutor reprint again. Something to be very happy about. I missed a little part on the arm there, so I'm just going to paint his armpit really quick. This zombie ogre is also surprisingly shaven. Like, he has very smooth armpits. I don't know if they pay attention to that. I guess zombie ogres. Yeah, this guy. I think was a kind of a beach hunk before he died. Maybe he died to like a shark attack or something. Maybe those are what the wounds are from. I mean, that's the beauty of D&D, right? You can do anything. So I have a zombie ogre that died to a shark attack. Ended up coming back from the dead for his revenge against shark attacks. I'm just making sure I'm at the bottom of the chat still. I don't want to miss out on anything anybody's saying. Steve, if you've said anything before the last, I'm going to say 5 comments, I probably missed it. So hello, thank you for being with us. I think Ryan told me that you had bought your kit, so thank you for joining us. The zombie ogre complains to me about his problems. Just tell him, get ogre it. Shut up, Ryan.
Did you just do that?
Ryan just made a pun on the stream comments, and I don't appreciate it. Get that stuff off of my stream.
Nobody else is chatting. I'm gonna keep jumping.
Yeah, Ryan's just gonna fill the chat up with puns if you guys don't interact with me. And of course, you know, if you're watching this video after the fact, which I definitely say you should. It's a cool little painting tutorial. Then yeah, you should go through the comments and look at Ryan's terrible puns. We are just now finishing up his hand, and I think let's see. Let's see. I think we're done. I think we're done with his skin. Look how this tan orange boy is looking. He reminds me of somebody. So we are done with our first color. I believe we're not going to go back through with that heavy skin tone, so we can be done with it. So next up, we are going to be painting a bunch of stuff with heavy sienna, which that's in the middle of one of these little sprues. Heavy sienna is like this dark reddish brown kind of color. Make sure it's shaken up a little bit. And why do I keep looking? Make sure it's shaken up a little bit. And hi Donald. Yeah, and I'm gonna make sure I don't pour as much paint in here as last time because I poured way too much in. So that should be good. That should be just perfect. And of course we're gonna water that down. Just get some good amount of water droppage in there, and we gonna mix it up. We're gonna mix it up nice and good. Make sure our paint is not all chalky and goopy and just too much to handle. And still a little thick there, but I think we'll be fine. It's Chris Kattan. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah. All right. So, part 2. So we're going to start off. This heavy sienna is going to go on. All of this kind of fur, the fur trim, is like his loincloth and his fur trim. And I believe it's also going to go. It's going to go on the base, on his weapon handle, and we're going to be going over his glorious sideburns with it as well. So yeah, we're just going to get started on that. We're gonna paint this into his nice fur loincloth that was made from a zombie bear. I like to think that this zombie ogre killed a zombie bear and made a zombie loincloth. And maybe like a zombie bathing suit for his zombie wife, whose name is Claire. I decided that the zombie ogre's wife's name is Claire, and she is a middle school teacher. So make up your own mythos about it. I don't know what Ryan has to say about the zombie ogre being married to a middle school teacher. You know, love who you love. That's what I say. Sometimes it's zombie like that. You're right. It's 2020. It'd be like that sometimes. Yeah, so we're just going over his loincloth and any of that fur trim that you see. We're not going over any of like the cloth wrappings or anything, just the fur. So anything that looks fuzzy. And then of course we're also going over the weapon handle. Because weapon handles are made of wood, zombie wood, and I'm sure Ryan has something great to say about zombie wood too. It might not be appropriate. We can just infer what we can say about zombie wood. Zomboner. He could say zomboner. That's right. Okay. That's our one dirty joke for the street. And so yeah, keep going. We just got to keep going over this fur. The fur is a little. It's of course it's bumpy and sometimes it's hard to get in those little crevasses. So we want to be diligent about it. You know, don't give up. You know, we at least want to get that base coat down before we take a break. And of course, when you are painting, he would play the zombone. He would play the zombone. If he cleaned hockey rinks, he would drive a zomboni. Haha! I did it. I made a joke. So yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. Make sure to get in those little the sensitive areas where you're not going to be looking most of the time. I like to make sure those are covered too. And just when you're getting like in the areas where we've already painted, just be a little careful. Try not to get get that paint on his skin already. If you do, it's not that big of a deal. His favorite movie is Ogre the Top. Not just Shrek. I mean, I guess. Yeah. So you can even like maybe try and like make a little outline with the paint, kind of around those areas where the skin meets that cloth, and then just kind of paint inside of that, so you don't have to be as accurate there. But I didn't do that. You can do that. We can dance if we want to. But yeah, so far this is coming along pretty well. I mean, we've already covered a good 50% of the model, at least it seems like. And we're just gonna really get in there. So that's that bottom part of his loincloth. I'm just going to go over this little trim area. With the trim area, just try your best not to spill over onto the bandages, because those are going to be kind of a lighter color, and it might show through. We might have to put more layers on, but I mean, if you do, it's not a big deal. Again, this is a base coat. You can be messy. I mean, that doesn't mean be super messy, but you can be a little messy. And again, with this, with the little trim around his I want to say they're boots, but they're really not. Around his wrappings, where the skin meets, we want to be kind of careful, just as not to go over what we've already gone over. But there are some spots that are kind of hard to hit, so don't be discouraged if you make a little oopsie. Oopsie poopsie. Is there a treble coat? I don't get that one. Like a treble cleft? A treble coat. I don't get it. But maybe there's a base coat. Oh, shut up, Ryan. That's so stupid. You really had to walk me through that one, man. Come on, man. If anybody else wants to chime in, please. Please. I'm going through hell right now. The coat equalizer. Come on, man. You're just being weird. I know that I might be getting a little, having a little dead air there, but I'm just really focusing on trying not to overlap our paints right now, which I just did just a little bit, but it's okay. We can fix it later. Oh man, and the air just cut off, so now it's like super quiet in here.
No, I am doing a rolling.
You can hear Donald in the background doing a rolling. We like rollings. Okay, now I'm going to go over that top part of his loincloth. Was loincloth the funny word there? Did you? You said it. Do you like his loincloth?
Can I use your brain for a minute?
Oh, Ryan's got a ruling. Uh-oh.
I don't remember this one.
What's the ruling? Maybe I can help.
Karn, great creator.
Yes.
Turns my shadow sphere into a creature.
Okay. It can't equip anymore.
It can't equip anymore?
Creatures can't be equipped to things.
That's what I knew. Thank you.
Yeah. If yeah. Yeah, that's a rule. A creature cannot be equipped to something.
Yeah. Oh, well. You all done?
As far as I know, I mean I have a pretty good knowledge of the rules, but I'm pretty positive on that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this zombie ogre and his wife Claire, who is a middle school teacher. She teaches 7th grade.
No, they're playing at the team together.
And she's, yeah.
All right. I need to reset my freaking bed.
This was my
She actually got voted Teacher of the Year. Donald just killed 2 people in Commander. That's pretty exciting.
Well, they're playing 2v1.
Oh, wow. Good job.
Yeah,
That's
that was
impressive. Yeah, that's impressive. So, yeah, we went over onto his skin a little bit, but we're gonna fix that. Yeah, once we're done with the base coat, I'll probably just go over really quick and fix any of our little mistakes that we've done.
Pretty sure. Ryan. Well, I did that for you.
Donald.
Never mind. So you gotta go to
Dombrowski's gamesandcomics.com.
Crystal Commerce.
Crystal Commerce. There's a link to it on the regular website. So what else are we going over with this Sienna here? Yeah, okay. So we did our cloth kind of part, I guess. It's the loin cloth and the trim. Now we're going to do his sideburns, his wonderful, sexy sideburns that his wife Claire just can't get enough of.
His first. Well, he's playing it all wrong.
I just wasn't drawing it.
No, you ain't got enough charms in here.
Make sure to get the back side of those. For all your nerdy needs, there is a link right there in the chat for you to their website. In case you guys need to buy something, you can buy this kit if you want to paint it later on, after you watch this video, or maybe before you watch this video, or as you're watching this video. I don't know. I mean, I guess it can't be before you watch this video, but like, if you're in the middle of watching this video and you're like, oh, I want to go buy that and I want to paint it with Thomas, you can pause it and go buy the kit. It's like probably like $30. I don't know. How much? $20 for this guy and all the paint that you need for him, which is probably a lot of extra paint. Yeah, that's a super good deal.
What the hell?
Yeah, sideburns go by pretty quick, and then we're just going to do the handle of his mace. So, again, don't worry about splashing over. We are going to use our cool gunmetal paint to go over the Morningstar features a little later. I think that's actually the last one we're going to put on the base coat, so we get to look forward to that. Some nice shiny metal paint.
And it popped in my head when it was like,
Yeah, I kind of wish I had a handle right now for this guy, but I don't have one on me. But you can make a handle out of pretty much anything and some sticky tack. So it's a good thing to remember if you're having trouble holding this guy. You know,
it's using nothing but the charms.
You can just get like a empty paint pot, some sticky tack, and yeah, you have yourself a homemade handle. I think GW sells them too, but not for these guys who come off the base right off the bat. You just got one little part left with this brown. We are going to do the base with the brown. Let's look at this box really quick. I want to see. Let's see something about this guy. Okay. Yeah, so that little part with like the rivets on it, that's brown too. I wasn't 100% sure, so I'm actually gonna just kind of slop that on there because there's a lot of detail over there, and I don't really care about painting around it right now because we're just gonna go over it anyways. So yeah, right underneath the spiky part of the Morningstar where there's these little rivets, it's between like these two rings. We're gonna paint that brown too because it looks like that's made of wood as well. All right, so we want to do the base in brown too, but that's gonna take a while to dry, so we're probably gonna save that till last. You gotta paint each armpit hair individually with a single horsehair. No, that's totally not. That's not necessary. You can actually get that done with a fine detail brush. As long as you have a nice tip on it, you'll accomplish pretty much the same as you would with. Tell you what, when we go through the fine detail, I will paint armpit hair on this guy. Are we happy? Are we all happy about that? Okay, cool. So next up, after our heavy sienna, we are going to get our tan. And yeah, that's the name of the paint, tan.
But I'm not worried about
Tan. Sin caused tan. Something Ryan's probably going to make a joke about later. And just fill up that next little bit. This tan's like kind of a little pinkish. We don't really need a whole lot of it, so don't flood that little thing with it. Or be Donald and flood everything. And we're gonna thin this a little bit because paint is thick and we want it to be thinner, especially in this spot where we're gonna do like a little finer of a detail here. We're kind of just looking for like the consistency of like milk or like heavy cream, so a little flowy, and that'll be fine. So we don't want it to like pull up or anything. Like we want it to break that surface tension. So we're going to be going over his mouth with this tan color. If you remember, we actually use this tan color in our Manticore too to do the base coat for his wings. And with his mouth too, I'm going over his teeth as well. We are going to go over them again, but when we put this base coat down over his teeth, when we go back over it again with a fine highlight, it's going to show that he has some gums under his teeth. So yeah, and then we're going to try and poke those eyes in there. Don't be too discouraged if you miss it the first time. I mean, it's not super easy to get those little tiny eyes, but I don't know if you can see with the focus there, but it's he's yelling at you. He's like, "Get away from my wife!" So yeah.
I'm not near your wife, Thomas.
So we did that. We're gonna do his little wounds now. So he's got some wounds on his stomach area. You notice like that big gaping hole in his stomach. And Donald, please turn that down. It's gonna really mess with me.
I got it.
And there's a couple more wounds. We got some like scars that we want to get into. Just be very careful going into those. And just get right in there. Maybe get into those ones too, because we want these wounds to kind of give the impression that they're rotting, fleshy. So if you get a little bit of it on like the lip of that wound. It's a really weird sentence to say, on the lip of the wound. It's going to give it that kind of like swollen, infected look. Again, a really weird sentence to say, but that kind of that infected kind of look. You know, you ever get a cut and it's infected and it's kind of like red around it? That's what we're going for here. So don't be discouraged if you get it a little bit around there, because it's actually going to blend in pretty nice. I'm actually going to go for that. I'm going to try and get a little more of that around the wounds, because we want this guy to look gross. I mean, at the end of the day, zombie ogre is not meant to be pretty. I mean, really, only his wife thinks that of him. She thinks he's a very handsome man, I guess. Claire, the middle school teacher, and yeah. So we're just gonna pick out all of those little. Hi, Donald. You're right in front of me. Thanks for joining the chat, Donald. Really appreciate you, bud. You can probably hear him talking right now. Donald, say hi.
Hi.
Hey, Donald said hi in 2 different ways. Look at that.
By the way, Thomas, you need to paint the arm hairs by Coles.
I am not using a single hairbrush because that's over the top, and you don't need to do that to do fine detail. And I'm going to teach you guys that. Fine detail is something that you can achieve with a regular brush. It's true. You just have to be patient. Let's see. Do we have any more of these gaping wounds? Let's get a little better in there. A little bit better in there. A little baby better in there. Okay. And I think that's all of them. I'm gonna kind of give it a good once over. Yeah, I think we're good. Hi, Sam. What's up, man? How's the coast? Are you painting with us, or are you just dropping in to say hi? Questions, answers.
Oh, you gotta grab that too.
So that's it with that tan color. Now we're gonna go with leather brown, and guess what we're going to be painting with leather brown? Yep, the leather parts. So we are going to be painting his belt, and it might be a little bit harder to do, but we're gonna do that little necklace that he's wearing, that he was gifted from his wife Claire. And this leather brown actually seems to be pretty, it's a lot thinner than the other ones. So I might thin that down a little less. And you might see that when color's starting to lighten in a palette, is they tend to be a little thinner. So we just want to make sure our brush isn't loaded up super heavy. We're going to go over the belt first, of course, because we want to save that that sensitive part for later.
Yeah. Hey, baby.
So
How's the baby?
paint the band around the belt. This is a song that I'm making right now.
I got 3 kids, so I understand.
Because I have my hair down to here, and then he just like first thing he would do when he get upset.
So this leather brown's kind of gross looking. It's like a little, it's got like this little greenish-ness to it, like a mustardy kind
Ooh.
of thing. I'm glad that's Donald's ringtone. Don't think that there's like a missile firing or anything. We're just painting a band. Again, this one's a little tricky because you're painted on both sides of this. But again, don't worry if you overlap. That's gonna go away. Also, a lot of stuff that's kind of in like a crease kind of area. Once we do our wash, that's gonna kind of cover up a lot of those little oopsies that we're doing. So like if there's like you got like little white dots in the fur and stuff where that paint doesn't sink in quite a whole lot, that will get filled in by the wash. So we don't have to be like super worrisome about those.
All right, no problem.
All right, so our belt is belted. Maybe go a little in on the lip of that belt there. So yeah, our belt is belted. Look at that mustardy belt color. We need a drone getting all angles. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. So let's see. I guess we're going. Now he has like these little wood planks, it looks like, on his necklace. So I think after I paint this little band, we're going with a little band. So try and do like a little bead of paint right at the tip of your brush. We're just gonna very carefully go over that. Oh goodness. Yeah. So this is practice for our fine detail right here. We're just going over this little band, necklace here. And if you're steady-handed enough and patient enough, you're not even going to have a problem with it. All right.
Wizard shiny foil.
And there we go. We have his little necklace painted, and it's probably you probably can't even see it. I'm going to go back over with that heavy sienna over those little wood planks that are hanging from his necklace, because I don't think those are supposed to be tan. I think those are supposed to be the color of wood. I mean, I might be crazy, but it makes sense to me, right? And heck, if you want, paint the damn thing purple. It's your model, you bought it. You don't have to follow these instructions, but this is just kind of how Wizards means for you to paint it. They have like this little video that you can watch that kind of goes through it a little quicker. And basically I'm going through those steps, being a little more thorough on technique and stuff like that. And again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Anything about, like, I don't know, painting, Warhammer.
You told Watsy.
This guy, I know a lot about his life, obviously.
You told Watsy.
Just gonna go through and touch up a couple of things with this heavy sienna while I'm at it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think
Cool, Brad.
so. We're done with the belt area. Again, wash our brush off. Sam Ryan says hi. I don't know if you're paying attention to the chat anymore. You're just listening to my sultry voice. So next up, we are going over his cloth wraps with bone white, or Zamboni. Give it a little shake, of course. And look at that, guys. We're already 5 colors in, so we are getting there. So pour that a little bit. This one seems to be quite thick. So, oh wow, I might even have to scoop that out. Look at that. Yeah, so this bone white is crazy thick. That happens sometimes with like whites and off-whites. Luckily, we're not going to need a whole lot of it. So I'd say scoop some out with your brush. Make sure not to cover your whole brush with it. And once you get like a nice little glob of it, we can water it down. Get it a nice consistency. Again, we want it kind of the consistency of like heavy cream, something like that. Buttermilk. Just to where it's like kind of flows a little bit, I guess. That might be a good way to put it. We want it to, we just want to break up the surface tension of the paint pretty much. Surface tension is really like your worst enemy when it comes to painting. I mean, that's what's going to cover up your detail. Basically why we water down paints is because we have little cracks and crevices that our paint doesn't like to seep into if the surface tension is too much. So when we add water, we reduce the surface tension of paint, and that makes it kind of spread out a little evener. Yeah, so we're going over his wraps with this bone white. It's not going to take super long, and yeah, same as the other ones. After this, I think we have one more color, and then we're going to go over that base, and then we're going to go ahead and give it a little time to dry. So we're going to take a little break after we get into our gunmetal color. And I could probably use a drink. I'm a little raspy right now, honestly. I'm pretty thirsty. Don't drink your pot water. That's true in every sense of the term pot water. Don't drink it, because it's gonna have some bad stuff in it. Trust me. Just going over. I might have thinned this down just a little too much, but it's fine. Just go a little heavy on it. Whatever. Make sure to get his heels. Give him some nice pretty shoes to impress his wife Claire when she gets home from teaching middle school. Gunmetal is Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite Hummer color. Fun fact. Is that a real thing? That's an actual fact. That's really cool. Okay. I'm glad Arnold Schwarzenegger paints his cars with Vallejo paint.
Yeah.
And I realized I missed a little part with heavy sienna again, so luckily we're going to go back over the base, so I'll hit that when I go back over there. That's the great thing about base coating is you cover every part of the model, so if you miss a part, you're probably going to look at it again and find it.
Was that caramel dawn?
So we're almost done with our foot wrappings. If you spill over some paint, there's another thing you can do is kind of wet your brush a little bit, and you just dab that paint off a little bit. There you go. See? Good as new. I mean, you can't really see where I guess you kind of can see like on the foot there where a little spilled over, but I'm dabbing most of it off, and once it dries, we can go back over it. Whatever. Let's see. Let's get a little bit more on those feet. His nice size 16 feet.
They look all evil.
Dab that paint. Yeah. Got to dab that paint.
Funny part is one in the middle.
Always look forward to Ryan having a little quip. Okay, now we're gonna do those bands on the hands. Bands will make her dance. Hands. Bands will make her dance.
The one on
Yeah.
yeah.
Same thing. Just be careful not to spill over your color here.
And they all have bright blue eyes. Really? Is that why they all look the same from different homes?
One of them just want to look like you.
All right. Interesting conversations going on in the background here, guys. Don't pay attention.
5
Just got an episode of Maury going on in the background.
or 6.
No, that's a no.
You are not the father. All right, so
That's random.
So is mine.
I'm gonna see a little part I missed with some of that skin tone. So it's kind of lucky I poured a little too much because it's not gonna have dried out. So.
Yes, ma'am, they're doing good.
Gosh, we're almost there, guys. We're almost done with this base coat. And then we can get to the more fun parts that go by a little quicker. Because after base coat, we're going to do some dry brushing. And that's everybody's favorite part of painting because it's like the easiest way to make a model look good other than washing, which we're also going to do after we're done dry brushing. So, yeah. Also, dry brushing doesn't take very long to move on to the next step after that. Of course, because your paint is going to be mostly dry when you put it on there. So we're getting there. Okay, looks pretty good to me. So look at that. Look at this guy's getting all colorful. And soon we're going to make him look a little more dull and zombie-like. Right now he just looks like he's kind of hurt. So next up is our Morning Star, which we're going to go over with Gunmetal, our super cool metallic paint that we're not going to thin down at all because it's a metallic paint and they usually run pretty thin. And also when you thin down metallic paint, oh god, look at that. That is super globby. I actually probably should thin that down. I know I just said I'm not going to, but this thing is dry as H. So I am going to thin that down. When you do thin down metallic paints, it spreads out those little metallic pigments a little more, and it can end up not as good looking. But this stuff is like chalk, so I'm going to thin it down just a bit. Yeah, gunmetal. So yeah, now we're going over the metal parts of the Morning Star. Fairly quick application there. Don't be afraid to grab your model by the parts you've already painted. As long as the paint's dry, you should be fine.
You go first. You want to roll.
So we're doing this little end piece right here. All right.
I got Thomas in 2D.
Looks good. And we're going to go over those little rings now that are kind of around that handle. Again, we're just going to do like a little bead on the tip of our brush. Make sure we don't go too overboard and paint over what we did. I got a little bit of metallic paint on this skin. That's fine. We can go back over that. All mistakes are temporary. Make sure to put a little dot on those rivets. Okay. Those rivets are a little tough to get to, and we want to be accurate about them. Be careful not to have paint on the tip of your finger when you're grabbing your model, or you're going to get gunmetal on the back of his arm like I did. You can kind of see it right there on his elbow. I'm going to fix that once we go back over, and I'm going to do a quick little once over after we're done with this base coat. We're going to go ahead and fix any of the little oversprays, I guess you could call that. Not oversprays, but overpaints, overbrushes. Getting all of these spikes can be a little tedious, but we'll get there. Yeah, this paint is super thick, but oh well. That's the deal with metallic paints, is they're not the easiest paints to work with. Vallejo tends to have really good ones. I think just this particular pot just kind of dried out on me. Maybe it was like cracked open a little bit. Who knows? Like error in packaging. Who knows? Usually they're not this thick, but I mean you can always thin them down. Just apply more coats. In this case, we're just doing one. I don't think we're gonna have to apply anymore. I'm just getting really sloppy with this because it's a big open area that I don't have anything else to spill over onto. So getting really close. I'm going to check my hand really quick before I grab this model so I don't mess anything else up. Almost there, guys. Almost there. And make sure to go over that little ring on the very bottom part. And let's do a little once over here, see if we missed any spots. Think we're good. Pretty sure we're good there. Okay, awesome. We're done with gunmetal. How many is too many coats? Well, first off, Ryan, you used the wrong 2. It should be 2 with 2 O's. And
Hey.
And also, what?
That's me.
It's you?
Yeah, I typed that, not Ryan.
Oh, Donald. Yeah, that's the wrong use of 2.
That's it, it's me.
But too many coats, when you start losing detail, that's when you have too many coats. You really want to keep it as few as possible, because you don't want to lose detail. Detail. That's what you want, because detail is what makes your model look good and unique. Let's see, where did we miss there? Right there. Okay. And just fix a little bit of our error edge here. Bam, bam, bam. Go over that toe that I messed up a little bit. Alright. Let's see, anything else? Like right there. Okay. You know, I think this looks pretty good. Now we're just gonna go over that base. And then once we're done with that, we're going to give it a little time to dry. We don't want to go over wet paint with more paint because it doesn't come out pretty. And I mean, why are we doing this if it's not coming out pretty? So I'm painting this a little lower here. Let's see if I can get the camera to look at it. Just because it's on the actual base of the. Man, how do I adjust this? Ryan, help! Okay, well. I'll hold it like this. So yeah, the easier way, because I can't really brace my hands like this, is I'm gonna paint it down here off camera, just because it's easier to do like right on the table, and we kind of just press it down, hold it by the head, and go over that base. Make sure you don't splash over or onto the feet, stuff like that. Let's see if, yeah. So, yes, little better.
Close.
Close, yeah, you can kind of see it, yeah. So, yeah, we're just going over that rock, dirt, whatever part of the base that he's standing on. And we're gonna actually, this is gonna be part of our dry brush too. We're gonna dry brush our base, and it's gonna give it this really cool look. It's gonna look almost like dirt that has like roots through it. That's kind of what I get from that, from like how it's from how that dry brush comes out looking. And we're also going to go over it with wash and stuff like that. It's going to really bring out the detail of the base, weirdly enough. I mean, a lot of people don't really care about basing. Again, I'm a big details guy, so basing is almost just as important as the model itself for me, because you want to give it like a sense of like, not just this is the creature, but this is where it is. This is where it's standing. This is the environment around it. So, I mean, you don't want a zombie ogre that's. I mean, I wouldn't expect a zombie ogre to be standing in the middle of like a tavern or something on wood floor. Why would it be there, right? I mean, then again, anything can happen. But I expect a zombie ogre to be like a kind of swampy area. It got reanimated by a necromancer who has a hut out in the swamp or something like that. That's how I think of zombie ogres. I guess when I think of zombies in general, I think of like the Borderlands kind of expansion where you're out in a swamp and there's just zombies everywhere.
Next turn.
I don't know, something about swamps and zombies, they just kind of go together. And this is a point where you can kind of load your brush up. Just because you got a lot of area to cover, just be careful around his feet. Don't splash over onto his feet. Although if you do, it's not bad. You can always just say he's got dirt on his feet, whatever. In fact, that probably make it look a little more realistic.
1U, 2U.
Alright, we're almost there, guys. Almost to that glorious, glorious break. Just gotta get right between his feet there. That's a little harder than it seems, just because we have to take like kind of a weird angle to get in there. But there we go. Awesome. We have our base is base coated. Awesome sauce. So now we're going to go ahead, refresh our water pots, and give our models paint. Give our models paint some time to dry, because that's what we want. What's up? What's up, guys? Everybody just started looking at me. Yeah, we want to give our models time to dry, because again, going over wet paint with wet paint is just going to it's just going to blend the paint together, and that's not what we're going for in this case. That is a technique that you can use. Blending is really hard to do. That's not what we're doing here. So give yourself a quick, I don't know, 5-10 minute break. Refresh your water pot, because we don't want to be using super painty, dirty water, because it's gonna make our brush all goopy. So yeah, I'll be right back.
Tommy, you're still there.
Well, yeah, there's a delay.
Wow, that's a big delay. If he's still there, whenever he comes back out, there's a problem.
Well, it's actually a good delay.
Jeez, it's still going.
That's good.
They're still on.
Yeah, there's like a 1 or 2 minute delay, guys. So calm down. It's okay. I can't handle this. You're in 2 places at once.
It's the Matrix. Oh my god.
Doesn't make sense. So he's falling. So you won't put it, right?
What toughness though means whole people.
So that means like it. No way. How'd you relate?
I only have fucking 2. I don't even understand.
Please tell me you flicked your commander, right?
Nope.
You should flick your commander. At this point, your commander's better. So I'm attacking him for 3 damage. At the end of his turn, my turn, you get to draw a card. That's my challenge. There's his ability.
Oh, okay.
Now
I'm learning something.
he's learned how to play magic correctly.
Yep.
I'm gonna play. Technically, I can attack him for 2 and you for 1. And then you for 3 and 3 of you, 2 of him.
37.
So I lose 2.
No, you lose 3. 3 of you, 2 of him.
I started until I'm done.
I can actually start.
I am like your
And
name.
then I can do. And
Sometimes I'm done.
you might actually see what that deck is
I'm
doing.
playing my blue ring control deck, so
Huh?
this is my control deck.
But
The one I'm playing.
why is it called
This one.
controlling the outcome?
I control what I'll play. Y'all cast a spell, I counter it. Y'all cast a spell, I counter it. I counter it. Rewind. Counter target spell. Untap 4 lands, get it, and I get to draw a card.
So it's a free cast.
And I get to put a card back in hand because of
Alright, now it's my turn.
So, it's like one answer.
Why hit me?
So I can hit one.
that. Yeah, you can.
He's tapped out.
He's not hit you for one.
I'll take one.
Jeez. You're gonna have to.
You're gonna have to play against me. I don't mind it.
Alright, draw.
I'm using this as a commander.
Oh, I forgot about commander damage. You ever played your commander?
Yeah.
You about to attack me already?
Yeah, 2.
So you have to.
Or that's only 21, isn't it?
You put it all in the box. That's underneath the lines.
Yeah, it don't matter if I'm not gonna attack anymore. Oh wait. Whoa. That one's gonna play. For Billy. I don't know what card.
So it's 21, right?
Yeah.
That's 2 up there so far.
All right, friends. So our paint on our base is almost dry, so I think we can get going again. So now we're gonna move on to dry brushing, which is the easiest way to get a cool highlight on your models, make a lot of their detail pop. Basically, what we're gonna do, we definitely don't want to thin our paints down in this step because we want our paint to be as dry as possible. Hence the name dry brushing. So basically, what we're gonna do is we're going to, excuse me, I had to burp. I just kind of like chugged down a Coca-Cola really quick, so I'm gonna be burping through this whole thing. So deal with that, I guess. We're gonna put some paint on our brushes, and we're going to get almost all the paint off. We're gonna kind of just wipe it on our paper towel, and we're gonna make it so our paint is pretty much dry on our brush. And after that, we're gonna start passing it over the kind of raised areas of our model, and that's gonna kind of highlight where we go over. So we're gonna start off with, again, our main body where we went over with that skin tone, and we're gonna use this gross green color called Dead Flesh, and that's exactly what we're going for because this guy's a Zamboni, and yeah, so this cool Dead Flesh color, you can see it's like this weird limey kind of green color. Hi Turner, how's it going?
That's fine. How are you?
Good. Teaching a painting class online.
Good.
So we're just gonna put a little bit in there. We don't need a whole lot, honestly. So take your brush. We're going to get about half of that with paint. Then we're gonna wipe it on our paper towel. And you're gonna see on your paper towel as the paint starts coming off, it's gonna get lighter and lighter. You want to make it so there's no wet paint on your brush. So after we have our paint nice and dry on there, be careful because our paint's still kind of wet on the base. We're gonna start passing it over his skin, and we're just gonna do that over all of his flesh, over all of his skin, and you're gonna get an effect kind of, I don't know if you can really see it, kind of like on his back there. It's looking a little lighter, you kind of see, and as we go over it, we're going to it's gonna really start popping out. So just be careful with this. You want to make sure that you're not going too heavy on your paint because it can, if it's too wet, it'll leave a pretty glaring mark on there. So we want to be careful, but also you can be pretty quick with this process if you know what you're doing. So just going over it, and we can see like his arms lightening up a little bit there, and it's actually it's making him look a little paler, which is exactly what we're going for. We want that pale, dead skin kind of look, that kind of rotting skin look. So just keep dry brushing that on there. Ideally, with this kind of technique, you don't really want to use a detail like a long brush like that. You take like an old crappy brush that you have that's messed up, and we take it and we basically like an old ruined brush, trim it down, like take some scissors and like kind of cut it down almost like, I would say like 3/4 of the way down, and it's basically going to leave you with like a lot of short stiff hairs, and that's exactly what you really want when you dry brush, because this can kind of mess up a brush a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that right now. This'll do the trick. Oh, another burp there. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, just keep making sure that your paint isn't wet on there, because that'll really kind of mess up the whole effect we're going for. And I mean, it's not a huge deal if you get some wet paint marks on there. Again, we can always go back over and cover it. I'm so sorry about the burps, guys. Make your brush kind of look like Vanilla Ice's hair. Yeah, almost like you kind of want to give it some highlights. And a good thing to do whenever you're checking to see if your brush is dry enough, kind of pass it over your thumbnail or pass it over the palm of your hand, and you'll see like if it's too wet, it'll leave some residue on there. If it's good, then you won't really be able to see it on your thumbnail. We just want to be very, very diligent with this. And as we go over it, you can kind of see like he's getting a little paler looking, getting a little greener looking.
Great.
And really the only alternative to this kind of technique here is like blending, I would say. And that's a pretty difficult process, especially for new painters. So I would say until you're really confident in your painting skills, it's okay to stick to dry brushing. There's nothing wrong with dry brushing, and it gives you a good look on your models. Honestly, I really like how this green's working with this brown. The wash is going to make the Zombo look lit. You are right. The wash is the other step of what we call liquid talent. Right, Turner? Liquid talent. That's what we call it.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. So you'll see as you're going over this. It's not super apparent in the video, but your model's definitely going to start to pop a lot more once we get this this dry brush on here. And again, this is all like really simple, easy, kind of beginner techniques that we're using here. And I mean, it's nothing super hard to do. And that's kind of the goal of these particular tutorials, is to kind of keep it simple, keep it new person friendly, because we definitely want to show you the easy parts of painting before we show you the hard parts of painting. there can be some difficult steps in there. The finer the detail that you want, and maybe when I do those little armpit hairs, we'll get into some cool little techniques that I might use, or might not. Who knows? I might be lazy with it. The big thing is patience with these kind of things. You don't want to rush it, because when you rush it, you make mistakes. Make sure to go over his little toesies. Be careful, because our base paint is still a little wet there. Let's see, like on there, I was a little too quick, and my dry brush wasn't dry enough, and we left some kind of unsightly marks, but oh well, it'll be fine. It's his feet. I mean, the only person looking at his feet is his wife, Claire. And the last little bit we have is his hand there, and I like to really try and reuse the paint that I put on my paper towel here, so you can actually refresh your brush with some of the still sort of wet paint that you've wiped off on your paper towel.
Y'all get to pick what it goes in my hand.
And the harder you press with this when you're doing it, the more detail you're going to get. So I'm actually going to go back over it just a little bit and get the really raised areas, a little more of that dry brush. You can also, I mean, along with blending, there's stuff called glazing, which is when you're using very watered down paint, and it kind of starts to kind of blend in the same way. And that's stuff that I'm still working on as a painter. I mean, I've been painting for a really long time, and you always learn new things. So always keep your mind open, because there's always somebody out there that knows some cool trick that you don't. So who knows, maybe tomorrow I'll learn a better way to paint this model. But as of right now, we are finishing up that dry brush. Let's see if we can get that in focus. So you can see, like, his tanness has gone away. He's not as tan anymore. He's a lot greener looking. He's a lot lighter looking. So he's lost that beach tan that he was going for. But I'm sure that Claire will love him either way. So, we're done with the skin. We're also going to take this. We're going to go over his sideburns, over his necklace, and over the base. Now, that base is still a little wet there, so we might give that a little more time. Let's see. Yeah. As long as we kind of avoid the really wet areas of that base, we should be fine. So I'm going to go over the base.
I'll have a blue and a green floating. Tap 5 of them. Trigger.
And you'll see is when you start doing that dry brush on the base, all of those little raised areas are going to start popping out at you, and you're going to be like, whoa, there's way more detail than I thought was in this model. And yeah, that's such a cool part about this technique, is it really makes all those little bitty details pop out. And that can be the same thing with edge highlighting and stuff like that too. Edge highlighting is when you go over like more hard edges, you kind of just scrape your brush against the side of like a right angle kind of like a sharp edge, and that's going to give you like a highlight that looks like it's maybe shiny. Yeah, and we like that. So we've gone over the base. As you can see, the base is lightened up a lot too. And look at that. It looks kind of like a swamp, doesn't it? I love that. And we're also going to go over the base with a wash as well. It's going to make it, it's going to darken it up again. And basically a wash is kind of like, we still have a few dry brushes to do. I'll go ahead and explain it now. A wash is kind of, it's almost like the opposite of a dry brush, where instead of applying paint to the raised areas, you're applying very, very thin paint to the recesses. It's going to sink in there, and it's going to make it pop even more. So it's going to look awesome, guys. So after we're done with the body, we're going to go to the wraps around his hands and the handle of his weapon, and we're going to do that with off-white. So off-white, just a little lighter than bone white. And this stuff is literally looks like cheese right here. It's super, super thick. So let's see if I can salvage this stuff. Like, thankfully we're doing a dry brush with this, but goodness gracious, this stuff is thick. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Look at that. It's all chunky and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely something that happens with white paints more than others. I'm not 100% sure why. Probably just because the pigment is so, like, it's like maybe the pigment is bigger than other pigments. I don't know, but it yeah, white paints tend to be super chalky like that. Luckily we're doing a dry brush, so it's not that big a deal. So yeah, we're gonna go over those wraps. Make sure we're nice and dry here. We're going to go over those wraps. And a good thing to do when you're dry brushing is go kind of against the grain on these. So what that means is wherever you see the recesses, you want to go at a right angle from those recesses, and it's going to stop paint from going into those recesses. It's going to focus on the raised areas rather than the recesses.
Yeah. With
and this is a really, really quick little step here. I mean, I can imagine that other people are going to deal with how thick this white paint is, and don't let it discourage you. It's kind of just a universal thing with white paints. They are notoriously hard to deal with. Something I like to do is I just kind of use light grays instead of whites, just because light grays tend to be a little easier to work with. And again, I'm finding spots that I missed on our base coat, so I'm going to go back over those before we go to our next step. But yeah, it's going by fairly quick. We're going to do that off-white over the handle of his mace as well, and that's just going to kind of make that wood grainy little bit pop up. Donald.
what?
We're live.
Is that an omnidirectional or a unidirectional?
I have no idea.
What's the difference between a wash and an ink?
A wash and an ink?
Yes.
I believe inks are a little thicker. Other than that, I really don't know. I think that washes are a little thicker than inks, and I think inks might come out a little shinier than washes do too. What's up?
Do you actually have to stick to a set paint design for
No.
your characters? Or
No,
do you have
no.
open
Paint it however you
interpretation?
want. You can paint this dude purple and magenta if you want. You like however you want to paint this. Paint this like a little third grader would paint this. Like however you want. This is just like a like a set of colors that came with this guy. No. No, Wizards isn't gonna care what color your zombie ogre is. What's up, Donald?
Magenta and purple will clash, sir.
Donald, you're right, and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But isn't Slaanesh magenta and purple?
That is true, but we're talking about two different multiverses here.
Yeah, I know, but
Slaanesh is. I feel like Slaanesh is more like a gray purple kind of thing. I don't think they use a whole lot of magenta. But then again, Turner, you are more versed in the ways of Slaanesh than I am. So
I don't know. I would assume they would do it just so they can cause pain for people looking at them.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I'm just going over these little spots that I missed on our base coat really quick. Just little annoying spots that we didn't quite see. The wraps are we're not going to see a lot of progress on those until we wash them, just because they're very light colors. So, like obviously, even like showing them on the camera here, I know this camera is a little saturated looking, but that white, it really doesn't seem to have changed. But whenever we add the wash, it's gonna really pop. So it's gonna pop. All right, so we did our bone white, or our off white, that is. So let's see. So we are going to end up using that off white again later on. So we are going to have to deal with thinning it down a little bit more, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So next up, last thing we're going to do for dry brushing is we're going to take tan, which is what we painted his wounds with originally. We're going to take that tan, and we're actually going to go over his fur with a dry brush. So this is another thing. Colors can be multi-use. So we can have a color that we used on another area, and it actually works in a different one for a different purpose. So just because like a paint would say like, oh, this is a base paint, this is a layer paint, this is a dry brush paint, doesn't necessarily mean you can't use it for other things. Never be bogged down by the rules with paint. There are no rules with painting, really. The one rule with Paint Club is we don't talk about Paint Club. And we're doing that dry brush over that fur. And again, you're going to see that fur is going to start to pop out a lot. And that's what we like to see. That is definitely what we like to see.
He comes in play 4 counters, as long as he plays 4 words.
Again, like I said, I like to kind of reuse that paint that's on the paper towel there.
This is in trouble board toughness, one still not be blocked. Putting it down.
Just going over that fur. Make sure to get the fur that's on his little like ankle cuff things or whatever they are.
I take 2.
I definitely went over our wraps there by accident, but I can go back and fix that. Huh?
I love you.
As long as I didn't hear it, it's fine. I wasn't really paying attention. I heard something about a pineapple. Let's hope that the stream didn't though.
Yeah, that's not.
We're gonna go over his sideburns with that tan too. And yeah, it's gonna make that fur pop. I'm gonna actually go over those little wood planks with it too. Maybe when we get to the end, we'll pop those little rivets on his tanks too with that gunmetal. Make sure to keep a nice tip on your brush.
To be fair, I get that a lot.
So, let's see. We got that
Working.
fur done, and let's go back over our guy.
I'm at 36. He's at 6. And he's at
23.
Hi, Jimmy.
Hey man.
It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, I saw you on your little webcam thing. Well, I didn't see you. I saw your arm. Did you haven't adjusted it yet?
Yeah.
You were just like, we're gonna start learning how to brush or something. I'm just like, bro, that's your arm.
All right. So we're done dry brushing. So, cool thing about dry brushing, doesn't take a whole lot of time to dry because it's already dry. Fill myself up with a little more burp juice, and we'll move on. So, next up is we are going to apply our washes. So first off, the first wash we're going to use is this violet ink. So, like I said, inks are a little thicker than washes are. They're more meant to kind of stain a color than to go down into recesses. So we're actually going to use this. We're going to water this down quite a little bit. So we don't need a whole lot, maybe just like a couple drops. So be very careful emptying that out. And we're going to water that down about 50-50, which might take a little longer if I don't have something to scoop water out with. So I'm gonna try and like makeshift something to scoop some water out with. So let's see here. Nope, that's not gonna work. There we go. I'm just gonna dip my finger in there and let it kind of drip off in there. You can see as you water it down, that violet kind of dilutes, and it looks a lot brighter. So just give that a good mix. Maybe give it a couple more drops. All right, that should be good. So basically, we're just turning this ink into a wash, and you're going to notice that this is like a watercolor paint almost. So we're going to take this ink. We're going to go over his wounds. It's going to make his wounds look a lot darker and gross. And you'll see immediately as you start painting that in there that it's going to go into the recesses. We might have actually watered that down a little too much because we do want it to stain it just a little bit. So I'm going to try and dial that in just a little bit more.
43. Trigger.
And also as it sets, it is going to stain it a little more there. But yeah, just get it into those little recesses.
I'm going to take 2.
Make sure not to like fill it up super much with that because it can just kind of overtake it. We don't want that. And we can actually get it around that lip of the wound too, as we called it earlier. And that'll make it look a little festery and infected looking, which is what we want in this case. So violet ink. It's gonna look nice and gross. So with this, the time we kind of saved with that dry brush, we might make up with this ink because inks are very watered down. Take a while to dry out. So
6-1.
I'm gonna try some of this ink flat out here. Just because I really want that center one to stain really, really well. So I'm going to put a bunch of that on there. Maybe the bigger ones I'm going to make a little more purpley. And yeah, it seems like a lot, but screw it. That's what I say. And of course, I get some on my thumb, and it gets on the rest of the model. So you just have to go back through with that. So the time it takes for our violet ink to set, I'm going to be fixing my mistakes,
Pure.
which is okay with me.
I think
Well,
he
this
was,
one, because he took 1 and 3, right?
Yes. You will draw a card every.
And honestly, that didn't take long. I just had to add a little more of that flesh tone back on. You want to be careful with washes because they flow really well, so it's gonna get all over you. But if we just take some of that original shade that we were using, go back over it, cover it up nice and well. All right. I think that's all of the purple that I managed to stain all over this model. So as you can see, his wounds are looking all gross and purple and infected, which is exactly what we want. I might go over that one more time. The more you apply this, the more it's going to stain on there. So we do want to be careful, but also we can be kind of liberal with it. Just make sure you add some of that watered down part to seep into those tiny, tiny little cracks. And you'll get a cool effect like that. Also, when it's drying, you probably want to let it dry laying down on its back, just because that's going to stop the liquid from pulling downward, instead it's going to sink down into the cracks that it's supposed to be in. But it's looking really good so far, guys. Next up with our wash, we are going to go over the skin with our flesh wash. That we're not going to have to water down, because washes are, of course, watered down more than inks. Turner, another thing I remembered about inks, I told them, I'll tell you, inks are more for kind of like staining over paint. So it'll actually change the shade of what you're painting over. So it's like a glaze, kind of the same. It's the same thing as a glaze, really. Whereas the washes are more for sinking down, so they're not going to stain it as much. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you were testing me or actually asking. Yeah. Yeah. Inks are a little thicker, and they actually like stain what you paint over them. So like that, those wounds were tan, and when we put the ink over it, it stained the wound purple and gross looking. Yeah. I like it.
You know, since I haven't done painting in a long time, now they've come out with shades, washes,
Shades and washes are the same thing, and then inks and glazes are the same thing. That's as far as I understand. But I mean, I could be wrong, but that's my experience with them. Shades and washes are the same, and inks and glazes are the same. They're just kind of thicker versions. Or well, thinned down versions of paint, that is. So our wash is pretty set. So we're gonna go back over our skin with flesh wash. This is a step that you might want to go over with a brush that's a little thicker than this, just because it can hold more wash. Make sure it's not gonna, and just make sure it doesn't pull in those recesses. We're gonna go all over this guy with this stuff, and it's going to make his skin look cool. So just go all over his rockin' bod with that. And we can do that right out of the pot too. We don't have to drip it into our little makeshift thingamabobber. Just make sure, we go heavy on the recesses, lighter on the raised areas, and it's just going to give it a more sense of shading. Yeah, just a more sense of shade there.
We'll go over that.
Because the more contrast we have through our colors, the better our model is going to look. It's all about contrast and controlling contrast. So like areas that are more armpity are going to be darker, heavier with that shade, whereas stuff like his back, the raised parts of his back and stuff like that, it's going to be a little less. And we're just going to take our time and go over this. This is like the part of the video where we can do like a supercut montage where it's like, but we don't have that because this is live. So
Well, my bad. My bad. My bad. Sorry,
man,
Turner.
those wounds
There
are
you
looking
go.
really good, guys. I actually really like how that purple's setting in.
Yeah.
Good play, Joe.
I just think you meant I get the info, your info. I'll hit you sometime.
Slowly going. Right, and applying this wash really goes by super quick, just because you can be sloppy with it. That's the best part about a wash. It's really not meant to be precise. You can like do things called pin washing, and that's where you have more things that are more like cracks and crevices, little. I mean, it's hard to really think of an example, but like if you're familiar with Warhammer 40,000, the Tau have a lot of little areas that can be pin washed, where basically they're just like these little divots in their armor and stuff like that. So. We're going over his hands now, and you'll see as you apply this wash, that dry brush that we applied earlier is going to pop out even more. Don't worry about getting too, like a little over the bandages there. Just gonna maybe make them look kind of bloody, honestly. Heck, I might even put some on there on purpose. Make sure we're hitting his face, get the recesses in his ugly old face that only his wife Claire would love. And that's a running bit, by the way, Turner. I know you came in late. This ogre has a wife who's a middle school teacher, and her name is Claire.
Cool.
That's what we decided early on.
That is actually great.
Yeah.
There are ogre children. You know, you really don't hear about ogre children.
You don't hear about ogre children, and I don't think I've ever seen a girl ogre. You only hear about the boy ogres.
That's true.
You know, ogres have girlfriends too.
Although in the last short book, the little short story from Caverns and Creatures does talk about female ogres.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing I can say here.
a nice little ogress.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the mythology on ogres and Warhammer Fantasy, there's none.
They need to see that.
Well, I mean, if you talk about like female dwarves in like Tolkien fantasy, female dwarves they're very hard to differentiate from male dwarves, and they just have thinner beards. That's their thing. Like female dwarves have beards; they're just thinner. So any of you who are like, looking at like the World of Warcraft dwarves and their female dwarves are actually feminine looking, that's actually not how Tolkien pictured it. He actually wanted female dwarves to be as ugly and stout as male dwarves. They just had thinner beards.
Which brings up female characters who were actually in Tolkien stories.
Right?
Because it was all based on British boys' boarding schools, so it was all boys' adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads like a history book.
Yeah. At least The Hobbit's a little easier of a read, but Lord of the Rings definitely is like, oh man, sometimes it kind of drags on. Nothing's as bad as Moby Dick, though. If you've never read Moby Dick, don't.
Have you ever tried reading the Silmarillion?
The Silmarillion, no. I know stuff from the Silmarillion, but I refuse to read it.
That was the first Tolkien I tried to read.
Oof, that's rough.
Yeah.
So now that we're done with that flesh wash, we're gonna take our sepia wash, which is just a little more of an orangey kind of tone, and shake it up. Hopefully this isn't what. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we take our sepia wash, which if you ever heard of the term sepia, it's like old timey photos, so it's kind of orange browny. And we're gonna take that sepia wash, and we're gonna go over our belt, our necklace, and we're gonna go all over our fur, stuff like that, fur, sideburns, all that good stuff. And that's also going to make our belt pop, because we actually didn't dry brush our belt because we want it to look a little more matte and muted. And the cool thing about this is we're doing this in the fur, the same wash, so we can just kind of slop it on there. Again, this is going to make those dry brushes that we did earlier on really pop out. Don't worry about it overlapping. This is an ogre zombie. It's going to look gross and bruised and blotchy. We kind of want that effect. This is actually a model that would be really handy for practicing blends on, because we want, when you're blending, you want to have that kind of, or sorry, not when you're blending, but zombies kind of have this look of just random bruises and stuff like that. And honestly, like, along with the rotting wounds, I think bruises are something that make zombies look more zombie-ish. So yeah, I don't know if you agree with me or not. But yeah. Let's see. We're also going to go over, or actually no, we're going to save that for the black wash. We're going to do the black wash over the base. I made an executive decision that we're doing the black wash over the base. We're also going to take this sepia, go over those little wood planks on his necklace and his necklace itself, and just very carefully with that, go over the necklace and his sideburns. Again, that's going to make him pop a little more. Might even dab him in his ears just to bring out a little more of the detail in his ears. Make sure to go over that weapon handle with it, and that's actually going to kind of stain our highlight a little bit and make it look a lot more like wood. So yeah, definitely with painting, when you're trying to do stuff like making your own kind of color scheme, you definitely want to think ahead and think how your washes, your inks, your dry brushes are going to affect the colors of your model, because this is definitely way different than our base coat that we started with. Look at all that detail that's on there, guys. I know that we're still kind of saturated looking, and it looks a little brighter than it might, but this guy looks way different than what we started with. So yeah, it's a cool thing. Still a little tanner than I thought. I kind of went a little light on that dry brush, but I don't really mind. I like it. It makes him look a little bloodier, almost. Maybe a little fresher of a body. He wasn't as he didn't rot as long. Yeah, so we take that sepia wash. We do our belt, our necklace, our wraps. Let that dry a little bit, because then we're going to go over that fur again with our black wash. And that was just me making a mistake. Honestly, we're supposed to go over it with a black wash, but whatever. Actually, you could probably go over that while it's still a little wet. Washes are very forgiving. So we take our black wash, and our black wash goes over our sideburns, our fur, and the metal of our weapon. So yeah, and I totally forgot that sepia wash also goes over our wraps. So we'll go back over that once we apply this black wash. I'm putting that black wash on the base. I like it on the base. It gives way more contrast to it. It makes it look like he's walking through a lot of muck. Be careful when you're doing the base like this, because you are going to get it on your fingers, and just be careful where you grab the model at after that. I would stick to holding it by the base for now, at least. Once we kind of get a little break, we'll do that. So go over the fur with that black wash. That'll make it pop even more. We were doing way more contrast with that. And sure, it's going to mix in with that sepia wash a little bit, but it's not a huge deal, honestly, guys. Again, there's no rules in painting. We just kind of figure it out as we go, huh?
It was weird to sniff the sleeves.
Yeah,
But Nigel was telling me about that.
Right. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there.
like
Go back over that. Go over his little cuff things. Yeah, I definitely see where they were going with the black wash on this. Yeah, that contrasts a lot more. And when I talk about contrast, that's just kind of the difference between the shades of our recesses and our raised points. We're gonna go over his little sideburns like that too. My name's Earl, and I'm a zombie ogre. My wife's name is Claire. I just moved here from San Francisco. We're continuing the mythos of our zombie ogre here, guys. So let's pick up our sepia wash again, because we forgot to go over certain parts, and that's okay. Sometimes we forget, and we are reminded later because we have a part of our model that isn't washed. And again, be very careful where we're grabbing, because we don't want to wash the wrong. We don't want to put a stain where we don't want one. So once we put this sepia wash on our bands here, they are really going to stand out way better than they were previously. Like I said, they were very bright and dull looking. So now once we put the sepia wash on there, you can see like if I get a little farther away, you can see the detail in there. Like you can see like the little recesses on there where it's wrapping around. So there's a reason we call it liquid talent in the painting community. It really does a lot of work for you. Some painters, I've seen painters brag like, "Oh, I painted this model without using any wash," and I'm like, "Wow, it must have taken you a long time to get the same kind of effect." Don't be too proud to use easy techniques, guys. It's there for a reason, and it looks good. Honestly, like a lot of time, like I can't tell the difference between a model that's washed and a model that's all brushwork. You know, like whatever. I don't care. Yeah. Oh, see, I forgot again. We're going over his feet too. So pop that open one more time. And actually, I'm going to take some of that flesh wash we did before too, and I'm going to get in his mouth and his eyes with that. So yeah, just take our sepia wash and we're going to apply it all over. And almost done, guys, with these little wraps. Make sure you get any spots that are kind of looking sparse with paint. You know, sometimes we miss a little some of the tighter spaces, and the wash can actually help just make that blend in perfectly. So yeah, there we go, looking awesome. And take that. Take some of our flesh wash, make sure our hands are okay. We're going to go in his eyes and in his mouth. And I forgot to go over that metal part with the black wash, so I'm going to do that too. See, nobody's perfect. I forget all kinds of stuff when I'm painting. I'm trying to get that in his little scar above his lip too. If you notice, there's a little scar above his lip. And so yeah. Try and make that pop out a little more too. Yeah, look at that. Can you see the scar above his lip? I don't think you can, but trust me, it looks good. I like it. Alrighty. So last thing, take our black wash again, because I like to skip steps sometimes, and I forgot to do his Morningstar. And black wash over gunmetal is going to look real friggin' cool. It's going to give it like this kind of oily look. maybe just like a little bit of tarnish, something like that. We're going to just go over all of the metal parts, the little rivets there. Don't have to be too picky about where we put it. It's just going all over. You can go heavy, you can go light, however you want, just as long as you cover the damn thing. And yeah, it gives it like this kind of like look like it's got like grease on it. It gives it some shade. Look at that. And I might have gone a little heavy there, but the good thing about wash is we can just dab it off of our brush, go back over it, and have our brush kind of absorb any of the excess that's on there. Right. Yeah, it looks good to me, right? So, our washes are done. We are so close to having this model finished, guys. It is pretty crazy how fast this is going. We started at 6 o'clock, so it's been about 2 hours. But trust me, that's fast for a model, especially one this size. You know, you got to give it time to dry and stuff like that. So, we're done with our washes. So the last thing that we have to do here is we're doing our fine detail. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to go back into that pesky off-white. So I'm going to take a little bit of it, get it dry. We're going to go back over those wraps one more time with this off-white, just to make it pop a little more, because that wash does kind of dull it down a lot. So we're going to take that, and I'm actually going to only go over the parts that are like exposed to light. So I'm not going to do like the underside of those wraps. That's a really good practice to get into when you're painting, is really pay attention to where light is hitting your model. You can make really, really realistic looking lighting effects based on where you think your source lighting is coming from and stuff like that. You know, your average model is going to be on a cloudy day, sun overhead at high noon, and that's going to kind of determine where our light source is going through. So we can actually like go take some of this off-white, just go over the top of his head, go over the really raised parts of his body, and it'll add even more of a kind of a dramatic look to it, like he's shiny or something. It's a really, really good thing to get started on. So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to put some of this off-white over his knuckles, kind of make his knuckles look like they're tight, you know, and just these raised areas of his skin. I'm going to put some of this. I'm also going to go over and cover up any of these spots that I kind of got some wash on. Go back over that with our base color, because we did get a little bit of that on there. And that just happens with wash sometimes. It likes to splatter and mess up our hard work. That's okay. We can always fix it, guys. Everything is fixable. Look at this guy. Look at him. You see, like, you see where I painted that white. That's not glare. That's actually where I did that white at. So it looks like he's got a little harsher of a light on him. So that's what I'm talking about when we talk about our source lighting and stuff like that. You can get really crazy with it. There are models that I've done where instead of the sun that's your source light, you have like a bonfire that's your source light. So your source lighting is actually coming from below the model, and it looks crazy cool. Or like maybe your source lighting is like a fire way off, like a burning battlefield, and you have this figure overlooking a burning battlefield. You can really do anything with it, and it just takes a little bit of practice. I'm going to go over these parts of this base that I kind of flubbed up a little bit while I was handling it. You'll notice, like, as you handle that base, if you're not using a handle, that it's going to rub some of the friction's just going to rub some of the paint off. So I'm going to go over that again. I'm not going to really sweat it that much. All right. So we have our fine detail brush here. I'm actually going to use this. So we're going to take some more of that off-white. We're going to get it on the very tip of our fine detail brush. Make sure it is not super chunky. And we're going to pick out his eyes. So we're just going to put a little dot on each of his eyeballs. Be very careful. And it does. If you mess up, it's okay. We can go back over it. We can fix it. It's okay. So look at that. Just a little bit of diligence, and you can kind of see on the camera the little lights on his eyes. So that's just going to make him look like he has eyeballs. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to kind of pick his teeth out here. So just kind of go over his teeth a little bit. You can also apply this in a dry brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick his teeth out, paint over them. Then I'm going to put some sepia wash over, or some flesh wash over it, that is. And that's just going to sink back into the recesses. And we're going to do that very sparingly with that flesh wash. So we're going to be very careful when we're putting that flesh wash back on there. Just really thinly over there, and it's gonna kind of just pick his teeth apart there. Look at that. He's got chompers, guys. Now, personally, if it was me, I'd do his chompers maybe a little. Might do him a little darker, make him look kind of rotten. But whatever. Maybe we can take a little bit of this. Take a little bit of this bone white. Okay, bone white's dried out. We're going to take it right out of the pot here. Take a little bit of this bone white. And I'm actually going to try dry brushing that over those teeth instead. Don't like how white they are. They're too clean for a zombie. And whatever. It's fine. We're not going for perfect here. So we did that. Next, we're going to take our gunmetal.
Gunmetal's awesome.
Gunmetal is awesome. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger's favorite color.
So I'm getting a tattoo gunmetal.
Yeah. So we're going to put it on the very, very tip of our brush. Make sure there's not too much paint on there, and we're going to pick out those little rivets on his necklace. Little rivets.
You have the camera? You can do the scan thing. There's a scan code on them. There's like a little square thing.
That looks good to me. Yeah, I like those. Okay. Rivets are done. So, we are technically done with this model. Look at it. Look at the glory of this zombie ogre. Donald, what do you think about the zombie ogre? Looks a lot like your sister, right?
Tommy, do I have a sister?
I don't think you have a sister. If you did, she's a zombie by now. So, yeah, look at that. We started from square one. This guy was looking super tan, and now look at him. He's got oozing wounds and bruises. He's got some shiny skin on the top. He's got an oil covered mace. This guy is fearsome looking, and I wish I could get him in a little better detail here. I don't know how to focus this camera, but trust me, if you did the steps that I did, you're going to see right in front of you. You painted this model. It looks awesome, and you did a great job. I think you did a great job. Now, it does come with a little base. You can super glue it on there. Don't use model glue. It doesn't work on these. We just want to use regular super glue. Make sure you get a good grip on there and leave it to dry for a while. What is up, Donald?
Gorilla Glue works very good.
Gorilla Glue is super glue. So, yeah.
No, it's Gorilla Glue.
It's made of gorillas. You're right. Okay, so I did promise you guys, though, that I was going to paint his little armpit hairs. So
Single brush hair.
I can't use a single brush hair because I don't have one, but I do have this fine detail brush, and I'm going to take the very tip of this brush. I'm barely putting any paint on this. And I'm just going to make little lines. Little tiny lines. Now, if I had a black paint, I would do this with the black paint, but I don't, so
That's it. Because like me, John, me, two of my buddies were go off the side of the pool cars, and it's like, hey, y'all ever gonna use these? No. I'm like, "We just talk
Maybe put some going up on his
So there you go.
underside of his arm.
Maybe this store credit probably buy more books than that. There we go.
And Cole, I hope you're watching. If you're not, you're here in spirit. I'll tell you next time I see you.
Things are not.
He's got armpit hairs.
I'm not gonna play paper math for a lot. But I am gonna play D&D with math. I want to. Every now and then I'll sit there.
We're just picking it out really slow. We gotta be very patient with this. We're doing very clean lines. This is going on a little thicker than I want it
I
to.
used to sit there and I just go, well, someone's just gonna be like, well, this is stupid, and I'll just be like, I'm not open.
All right, good enough. He's got armpit hair, guys. All right. So, we're done. We have a zombie, complete with sideburns, armpit hairs, and a wife that works at a middle school. So, yeah, one last good look at it. We'll take a picture of this guy, put it on the DGC Discord. Yeah, make sure to like, share, come in here, say hi to us, buy some comics, buy one of our t-shirts, buy models, buy paint, everything you need we have here, except for maybe like food. We even have food. There's like bags of chips and stuff. So. And yeah, if you want to find out how to paint this Manticore as well, we did a little video on our Manticore too. Just look it up on the DGC web, or I think it's on the website, and it's also on the Facebook. So yeah, if you pick up this painting kit as well, we have a tutorial for that. So yeah, thanks for watching, whether you stuck with us live or you're watching afterwards, and yeah, have a great day, guys.